Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. I'm TCaptainX, and today we're going to be covering the top 5 loadouts to be using in MW3 Warzone after the Season 1 Reloaded update. If you're new to my channel and you haven't heard me talking about GGs.ai, it's a website that I've helped develop, and it is an AI-powered meta finder that you can customize based on your different play styles to help you find the best loadouts, and that's what we're going to be using today as our main source for these loadouts in today's video. The website also allows you to log your games and help you track things like your KD, your win ratio, and it can track based off different metrics like what loadout are you using, where is your drop spot, what teammates are you playing with, what perks are you using, and a lot more. So it's a really powerful tool. We're excited because a lot more features are going to be coming to this with the goal of helping you guys get better at Warzone. And again, the website is free. It is again at ggs.ai. You can use it on a normal laptop computer or also on your phone on a mobile browser. So starting at number 5, if you're an aggressive player and time to kill is of utmost importance to you, the BASB battle rifle still hits like a truck up to about 37 meters. After that, it does start to drop off, and it's kind of a marshmallow shooter, and it's got a considerable amount of recoil. So this loadout is by far to be best used on resurgent maps. And then a great SMG to pair with the BASB is the WSP Swarm, because it still has the best close range time to kill of all SMGs. Now the Swarm did receive a pretty hefty nerf to its mid and long range time to kills though. So because of that, it's very important to maximize that first damage range drop off, because after that drop off, the time to kill is not very good at all. And this build in particular gives you a first range of 10 meters. It's got decent recoil, and it's got that huge 100 round mag. Now I'm gonna give you guys a few options for each build. This is the absolute lowest recoil build you can get, and it has that new Jack BFB muzzle. The downside of this muzzle though is that you are going to ping more on the minimap. People see you as a big like advanced UAV ping, but this helps the recoil a massive amount. Now if you're not a big fan of the iron sights in this gun, you can take off the stock and we can put back on an optic like a 2.5, or you can just go with a 1x. And of course, if you don't want to ping on the minimap, and if you want a little bit more range and you think you've got pretty good recoil control, just go with the Spirit Fire Suppressor. This is probably my go-to setup, but you can play around with any of those variations I just showed. Now after the Swarm nerf, very important that we maximize that range. So the Reckless Barrel gives us a big boost to our range, and so does the high grain rounds. And then on top of that, the Sonic Suppressor also is going to add range. So after that, the recoil is not the best on this gun, so the Fortress Heavy Stock is going to be the best to minimize that, and then I do recommend that 100 round drum. Now if you don't like the iron sights, I'd probably say you can either go no muzzle, or what I would probably do is take off the ammunition and then run a 1x optic like a Slate or whatever it is you prefer. In Season 1 Reloaded, we saw some changes to the Cat AMR. Its bullet velocity did receive a nerf, but you can still make a one-shot headshot build and have a bullet velocity of about 1,000 meters per second, which still makes it very easy to hit those long range snipes. This is definitely not a Kar 98 or a Swiss K31 of the old days, so it's not super ideal for resurgence, but it is fantastic on Urzikstan. There's several sniper support options, but with the AMR 9 receiving a nice buff to its close range time to kill, it can finally compete up close and do great at mid range with its around 20 meter range drop off. Now the AMR does have a bit of a slow sprint to fire time, so just be careful when you're pushing in very close quarters, because it doesn't handle quite as fast as some of the other SMGs do. So the Cat AMR is really the only sniper worth using, and that is because it by far has the best bullet velocity while maintaining a one-shot headshot capability. Basically with this build, we are trying to maximize that bullet velocity between the Sonic Suppressor, the Zang 34 barrel, and then high velocity. We used to run Spire Point, but the Spire Point rounds got nerfed pretty heavily. Now, one other option I'll say, instead of the Sonic, you can run the Bruin Counter Ops. This one gives you a little bit more bullet velocity, 18%, but it really hurts your ADS speed. Whereas the Sonic, you get about a 13% bullet velocity, but no penalty to your ADS. And overall, I think that's a better trade-off in my opinion. They also buffed this SL Razorhawk laser, so it's just going to make the ADS and sprint to fire times a little bit faster, make it a little bit more mobile. Now, if you don't like the optic, feel free to change either the laser or the stock to a different optic if you choose so, but to me, I think the default one's all right. And then the AMR 9. So the problem with the AMR 9 is it has a pretty bad sprint to fire, so it's important that way make that as fast as possible. So that's why we're going with the EXF Solar Flare Laser, which it is like a flashlight, but your enemies can barely see this laser. It's not really like a true laser. Then the Phantom Grip's gonna also help with that. And then this Tectonic Micro Integral Barrel, it does count as a suppressor, but it really helps our mobility and handling, which is a weak point for the AMR. It hurts our range, but we've still got a 20-meter range for this AMR, which is great for a sniper support. And then finally, the iron sights are not very good, so I am going with an optic on this build. If you want a loadout that is just easy to use with low recoil, but still has a pretty solid time to kill, the aftermarket conversion kit for the Polyamot 7.62 LMG is still a great option. It doesn't hit as hard as it used to after its nerf, but it still has that 100 round mag, excellent mobility for a big LMG, and most importantly, super easy to control recoil. There are several SMGs that we could pair with it, but the WSP-9 is still one of my personal favorites, and it was not touched in the Season 1 Reloaded update. If you were to exclude its 50 millisecond open bolt delay, it actually would have a faster time to kill than the WSP Swarm. But it also has better range, less recoil, better mobility, and a pretty solid damage per mag. It's just an all-around good SMG for any situation. So the Polyamot 7.62 build has not changed at all. Of course, you have to run that conversion kit, which is unlocked after you get it to the max level and do the challenge for it. After that, this is the same build I've been running for the last several weeks. Again, it just doesn't hit as hard, but it's still a great option. I've been running this WSP-9 build for a few weeks, and this is actually what I dropped my PR with as well. It's a little bit weird looking build using this short barrel, but this ends up speeding up the mobility, and it still has a phenomenal range. Also, if you want something even more mobile, you could switch out the vertical grip for something like the DR6 hand stop for better mobility. The iron sights are not bad at all in the WSP-9, so feel free to take that optic off and add something else for maybe mobility or recoil control, depending on what you want to go for. If you're looking for a loadout that can do it all, dominate up close, mid-range, and long range, and by the way, the loadout that's personally been my favorite so far this season, then try this one. The Ram 7 Assault Rifle has TTKs nearly identical to the Bass B, but with better ranges and a bit more manageable recoil in my opinion. Also has a very fast fire rate, which makes it feel a little bit more friendly to use. Then you can pair that with the newly buffed Striker 9 SMG that has a competitive close range time to kill, but it has excellent range and super low recoil and good mobility. So you've got a loadout that can handle any type of fight, and this, like I said, has been my personal favorite to use on a Resurgence as of late. There are several different ways to run the Ram 7, and this right here is my personal favorite. I do prefer to run a 1x optic instead of the 2.5. However, the Ram also has great iron sight, so feel free to take that off, and I'd recommend putting on the recoil control stock for even better recoil. Now, with the muzzle, if you feel like you're still struggling to control recoil with this, take off the Spiritfire and put on that Jack BFB muzzle. Did I go past it? There it is. And this is going to give you even better recoil control. And one other final option I'll add as well is if you are going to run that Jack BFB, you can switch the barrel out for the Cronin Headwind because it ends up giving you better range. However, the other barrel, it helps with recoil. So you're kind of sacrificing some recoil for a better range, and there's just a lot of options, but the Ram is a really, really good gun, especially for Resurgence. And then the Striker 9 SMG, which got a really nice buff. It's got a very competitive time to kill of 630 milliseconds now. This build has low recoil and great mobility. The iron sights, they're okay, but I just found that I'm way better if I just stick with an optic here. Now, if you want to make this even more mobile, you could take off this stock and put on something like one of the mobility stocks, or maybe a laser for better sprint to fire time. But this right here, just this gun feels so smooth. If you ask me to pick a loadout that is best for most players though, I'm actually going to go first with the SVA 545 assault rifle on burst mode because it gives it essentially zero recoil. And I actually mean zero recoil. The time to kills are decent, but combined with the accuracy, you're going to end up downing players much faster at range because you're hitting your shots better with that low recoil. And then there's the new HRM9 SMG, which overall is probably the best SMG right now. It's got a 0.612 millisecond time to kill, which is nearly identical to the Swarm, but it's got more than double its range depending on how you build it, and it's still got easy to control recoil, growl-like iron sights with the right barrel attachment, and excellent mobility. The only thing that's really limiting it is kind of just an average damage per mag. So this is the SVA 545. Now again, very important when you run this that you toggle it to the burst mode, and then you of course have to burst it as quickly as you can. It's still pretty good in full auto, but it's better in burst because it removes that recoil. If you're gonna run it in burst, you don't need to run the Spiritfire suppressor. You can instead run the Sonic because it's gonna give us better bullet velocity, because I'm telling you, the recoil stats basically don't matter. Now we do still run like the precision barrel and the Bruin heavy support board to get that better range and better aiming stability, as aiming stability ends up being a more important stat than actual recoil control does on this build. And then finally, there are a few different builds for the HRM, but here's a new one that I'm going to show you guys that is focused on mobility. Now you're going to see I'm missing an attachment, and that is because the 50 round drum is bugged and not unlocked for me. For some people it is, for some people it isn't. Hopefully that gets fixed soon. Obviously you're going to want to use the 50 round drum. This build here focuses on mobility, and with the Thorn 90 barrel, we're going to get still a damage range of 17 meters and a bunch of boosts to our mobility. Now this barrel doesn't give you the cleanest of iron sights here. I mean, they're fine, they're good iron sights, but it's not the Grau iron sights. So if you want those, you have to use either the long barrel or the suppressed barrel. I was running the suppressed barrel because it gives us an extra attachment, and then with that I was running the EXF solar flare, and then I did switch this like this. So this is another build you can run. The only downside to this build is you don't have as good as range, but you have better recoil control, and you end up getting super clean iron sights just like the Grau. And then finally, if you want to run this for even better range, just switch it over to the long barrel. Again, you're going to get those Grau iron sights, take off maybe something like the solar flare for a sonic suppressor, and then now you have kind of like a sniper support type build. So just a ton of different builds you can run with it. Very, very good gun. Before we wrap up, I do want to really quickly cover my tactical lethals and perk packages. If I play Resurgence, so I like to run throwing knives because that helps get finishing my kills. But I would say if you are a BR player, Semtexes, breacher drones, or frag grenades are probably your best bet, but a lot of different options that you can run there. As far as tacticals, I do like stims a lot, especially for making rotations in gas and kind of saving myself in situations that I would otherwise die. But otherwise, smoke grenades are still phenomenal. Stuns and flashes are still great as well. Now, perk packages, I have pretty much stuck to running these perks after Season 1 Reloaded. I went back to Quick Fix because there was a bug with Quick Fix where it wasn't working all the time properly. Now it is working, so as soon as I get a finish or start to play, it's going to heal my health, which is very beneficial. Mountaineer is a must because you can jump off very tall heights without taking fall damage. I do like double time just to speed up that tack sprint, allows you to get around the map faster. And then finally, my perk slot 4, big fan of High Alert still. High Alert is just, I think, too valuable because it gives you almost like a sense of wall hacks when you know someone's in that area when they're looking at you. So that is going to wrap things up, guys. Again, feel free to check out ggs.ai, make an account, log your games. It is free to use. Hopefully this video helped you. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.